It started as a normal conversation, just another heated debate in hip-hop media. But within hours, it turned into something nobody saw coming. One name was at the center of it all: Joe Budden. And the moment Ebro stepped in, everything changed. What was supposed to be a casual discussion about Kendrick Lamar suddenly flipped into a full-blown exposure moment that has fans questioning everything they thought they knew. Clips started surfacing. Old statements were being replayed. And then, boom, Ebro dropped a response that didn't just challenge Joe Budden. It blew up his entire claim. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high. And social media, completely out of control. Wait, did Joe really say that? Ebro just exposed him like that? Nah, this can't be real. But the more people looked into it, the messier it got. And some people believe Joe Budden may have exaggerated his connection to Kendrick Lamar behind the scenes. Others think Ebro knew something all along and was just waiting for the right moment to speak up. And then there are fans saying this goes deeper than just one conversation, like there's been tension building for a long time that finally exploded in public. Nothing is confirmed, but the timing? Suspicious. Because right when Joe was gaining momentum again, right when his voice was dominating hip-hop conversations, this happens. And now people are asking serious questions. Was Joe Budden telling the full truth? Did Ebro just expose something the industry already knew? Or is this all being twisted into something bigger than it really is? One thing is clear. This isn't just debate anymore. This is personal. The moment that clips started circulating, everything shifted. What seemed like a routine discussion on Joe Budden's platform suddenly took on a completely different energy. In the clip, Joe appeared confident, almost too confident, speaking on Kendrick Lamar as if he had insight that went beyond what the public knew. He leaned back, voice calm but calculated, saying things that made it sound like he had behind-the-scenes knowledge. At first, fans didn't question it. That's Joe Budden, someone known for strong opinions and industry connections. But this time, something felt different. The tone, the certainty, the way he framed his words. It caught people's attention in a way that didn't sit right. Within minutes, social media picked it apart. Fans replayed the clip over and over, analyzing every word, every pause, every expression. Did he just say that like it was fact? One user posted. Another commented, nah, where is he getting this from? The curiosity quickly turned into suspicion. People weren't just listening anymore. They were questioning. And then came the moment that changed everything. Ebro entered the conversation. It didn't happen with a long rant or a dramatic entrance. It was subtle at first. A response, a correction, but delivered in a way that carried weight. Ebro spoke calmly, but there was an edge in his tone like he knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't yell, he didn't over-explain, he simply challenged the claim. And in doing that, he planted a seed of doubt that spread instantly. Fans are shocked because it wasn't just disagreement, it felt like exposure. Hold on, Ebro said in the now viral moment. That's not how that went. That one line changed the entire narrative. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about Kendrick Lamar anymore. It was about Joe Budden. People began revisiting his past statements, pulling up old clips, comparing stories. Social media is going crazy, with timelines flooded by side-by-side videos and breakdown threads. Some people believe Joe may have stretched the truth to strengthen his point. Others think it could be a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. But the damage, or at least the doubt, was already there. Emotions ran high as fans took sides. Supporters of Joe defended him, saying he's always been outspoken and that people are overreacting to a difference in perspective. Joe speaks from experience, you'll just don't get it, one fan wrote. But critics weren't holding back. Nah, if Ebro is calling it out like that, something's off, another comment read. People are divided, and the gap between both sides kept growing as more reactions poured in. What made the situation even more intense was how personal it started to feel. This wasn't just two media personalities disagreeing. It felt like a clash of credibility. Joe Budden has built a reputation on being real, unfiltered, and deeply connected to the culture. Ebro, on the other hand, is known for being plugged into the industry at a different level, often speaking with authority when it comes to artists and behind-the-scenes dynamics. So when those two worlds collide, it creates a kind of tension that fans can't ignore. Some people think this moment has been building for a while. There's a growing belief online that subtle disagreements between Joe and Ebro may have existed long before this clip went viral. Unconfirmed reports suggest there may have been previous moments where their perspectives didn't align, but nothing ever reached this level of public attention. Now, everything feels amplified. Every word carries more weight. Every reaction feels like part of a bigger story. Meanwhile, the name Kendrick Lamar continues to hover over the situation, even though he hasn't said a single word. That silence has only added to the mystery. Fans are wondering whether he's aware of the situation, whether he cares, or whether this is just noise that doesn't deserve a response. But in a strange way, his absence is making everything louder. Because without a clear answer from the one person at the center of the original claim, the narrative is being shaped entirely by those speaking around him. Right now, the situation feels unstable. There's no resolution, no confirmed truth, just a growing storm of opinions, reactions, and speculation. And as more people tune in, trying to figure out what really happened, one thing is becoming clear. This is no longer just a conversation. It's a moment that could shift how people see both Joe Budden and Ebro moving forward. As the conversation continued to spread, the situation quickly escalated from a simple disagreement into something much bigger. Social media was no longer just reacting, it was choosing sides. Every new clip, every repost, every reaction added fuel to the fire. Fans were no longer just asking questions. They were forming narratives. Some people believe Joe Budden doubled down on his claims behind the scenes, standing firm in what he said, while others think the pressure of Ebro's response began to expose cracks in the story. Nothing is confirmed, but the shift in tone was undeniable. What made things even more intense was how quickly other voices started entering the conversation. Smaller bloggers, podcast hosts, and even a few industry insiders began weighing in, each bringing their own perspective. Some supported Joe, arguing that his experience in the industry gives him access to information most people don't have. Others sided with Ebro, saying his correction didn't sound like speculation. It sounded like certainty. Ebro doesn't speak like that unless he knows something, one comment read, gaining traction across platforms. And that idea alone created a new layer of tension, making people question not just what was said, but who had the real credibility. Then came another twist that pushed everything to a higher level. A resurfaced clip began circulating, an older moment where Joe Budden appeared to speak on Kendrick Lamar in a slightly different tone. In that clip, his words didn't carry the same level of certainty. It wasn't a direct contradiction, but it was enough for fans to notice a difference. Social media is going crazy trying to compare both moments, with users posting breakdowns, timelines, and theories about what might have changed. "Why does this sound different now?" one user asked. Another wrote, "This ain't adding up. The comparison didn't prove anything, but it created doubt, and in a situation like this, doubt spreads fast." Now emotions ran high as the debate became more personal. Supporters of Joe Budden felt like he was being unfairly targeted, arguing that people were twisting his words to create drama. Critics, on the other hand, believed this moment revealed something deeper, suggesting that Joe may have been speaking beyond what he actually knew. People are divided, and the energy online reflects that division. It's no longer just about the claim itself. It's about trust, reputation, and who the audience believes. Meanwhile, subtle reactions continued to appear from people connected to the culture. A few cryptic posts surfaced, messages that didn't directly mention names but seemed to hint at the situation. Some people think these posts were indirect shots, while others believe fans are reading too much into them. Still, In moments like this, every detail feels important. Every post becomes a clue, every silence becomes a statement, and that constant analysis only keeps the story alive. Another theory started gaining attention, suggesting that this entire situation might be tied to larger dynamics within hip-hop media. Some people believe there's an unspoken competition between major voices in the space, where credibility and influence play a huge role. In that context, moments like this aren't just about correcting a statement, they're about positioning, about who controls the narrative. Unconfirmed reports suggest that tensions between different platforms have existed for a while, and this could be one of the first times it's spilling into public view. Whether that's true or not, it adds another layer to an already complicated situation. Or at the center of it all is the growing question: why now? Fans are wondering why this specific claim triggered such a strong response and why it escalated so quickly. Some think the timing is intentional, pointing out that Joe Budden has been gaining attention recently, with his voice carrying more weight in conversations. Others believe it's purely coincidental, a situation that just happened to explode because of how fast information spreads today. Either way, the timing feels significant, and people can't ignore it. As the hours turned into a full-blown viral moment, one thing became clear: the narrative was no longer in anyone's control. It had taken on a life of its own. New angles kept emerging, new opinions kept forming, and the gap between fact and speculation continued to blur. Fans stayed locked in, refreshing their feeds, waiting for something definitive that could finally bring clarity. But that clarity never came. Instead, the story only grew louder. And with every new voice added to the conversation, the tension increased. Because at this point, it wasn't just about what was said, it was about what it meant and how it could impact the reputations of everyone involved. And as the situation kept building, it became clear that whatever came next wouldn't just settle the debate, it would define it. As the tension kept building, the conversation took an even sharper turn. And this is where everything started to feel personal. What began as a disagreement over a claim now looked like a full-blown clash of credibility. Social media was no longer just debating facts, it was questioning character. Fans were digging deeper than ever, pulling up years of interviews, our podcast moments, and even behind-the-scenes stories to try and understand who was really telling the truth. Emotions ran high as people began forming stronger opinions, and the energy online became more intense with every passing hour. Then came another moment that pushed the situation to its peak. A new clip surfaced, allegedly from a recent conversation where Joe Budden addressed the backlash in a subtle but noticeable way. He didn't directly mention Ebro, but his tone suggested he was aware of everything being said. "People always got something to say when you speak with confidence," he said, pausing for a second before continuing. That line alone sparked a wave of reactions. Some people believe he was standing firm, refusing to back down. Others think it sounded defensive, like he was trying to protect his credibility without directly confronting the issue. Nothing is confirmed, but the interpretation of that moment became a major talking point. At the same time, Ebro's presence in the conversation continued to grow, even without constant responses. Fans began analysing his original statement more closely, treating it almost like a key piece of evidence. "That's not how that went" became more than just a correction. It became a phrase that people kept repeating, using it as a reference point in debates. Some people think Ebro's confidence came from direct knowledge, while others believe it could simply be his perspective, delivered with authority. But, regardless of the intention, his words carried weight, and that weight was shifting public opinion. What made this stage of the situation even more dramatic was how it started affecting the perception of both figures involved. Joe Budden, known for being outspoken and unapologetic, now found himself in a position where every word was being questioned. Meanwhile, Ebro was being viewed by some as someone who had just exposed something important, while others accused him of escalating the situation unnecessarily. People are divided, and the line between support and criticism continued to blur. Another layer of speculation began to emerge, suggesting that there might be more behind the scenes than what the public is seeing. Some people think conversations may have happened privately before this moment went public. Unconfirmed reports suggest there could have been disagreements or tensions that never fully surfaced until now. That idea added even more intrigue, making fans wonder whether this was truly about one statement or the result of something building over time. Still, nothing is confirmed, and that uncertainty continues to drive the narrative. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar's silence became louder than ever. His name remained at the center of the original claim, yet he hadn't responded in any way. Fans began debating what that silence meant. Some believe it shows he's not concerned with the situation at all, choosing to stay above the noise. Others think his silence could be intentional, allowing the conversation to play out without interference. Either way, his absence only intensified the mystery, leaving more room for speculation to grow. Content creators took this moment to push deeper into analysis, creating detailed breakdowns of every angle. But some tried to piece together timelines, others focused on body language and tone, while a few explored the broader implications for hip-hop media. The story was no longer just about what happened, it became about how information spreads, how narratives are shaped, and how quickly public perception can shift. Social media is going crazy, and every new take seemed to bring a different perspective. Through all of this, one thing became clear. The situation had reached a point where it couldn't simply fade away. Too many people were invested, too many opinions had been formed, and too much attention had been drawn to the issue. This wasn't just a viral moment anymore, it felt like a defining one. Because whatever the truth turns out to be, the way people remember this situation will be shaped by everything that's happening right now. And as the tension continues to rise, the biggest question still remains unanswered. Who is actually telling the truth? Is this a case of misunderstood information? Or did something get revealed that wasn't supposed to come out? Nobody knows for sure. But one thing is certain, the story isn't over yet, and whatever comes next could change everything once again. As the situation reached its most critical point, the energy around it shifted from chaos to something even more intense: anticipation. After days of non-stop reactions, debates, and speculation, people were waiting for a defining moment, something that would finally bring clarity. And then, just when it felt like the story couldn't get any bigger, another unexpected twist entered the conversation. A new wave of commentary began circulating, with some voices suggesting that the entire situation might not be as straightforward as it appeared from the outside. Some people believe there could be context missing, details that haven't been made public yet that could completely change how everything is being interpreted. Still, nothing is confirmed, but that possibility alone was enough to shake the narrative once again. Fans are shocked at how many times the story has shifted in such a short period. What started as a confident claim turned into a public challenge, then into a debate about credibility, and now into a question of whether the full truth has even been revealed. Emotions ran high as people tried to keep up with every development. "Every hour it's something new," one user posted. Another said, "At this point, I don't even know what to believe anymore." That feeling of uncertainty became the dominant emotion, replacing the earlier confidence many people had when they first reacted. At the same time, more attention began focusing on how both Budden and Ebro were handling the situation publicly. Some people think Joe's approach, remaining indirect, speaking in tones that suggest confidence without giving full explanations, might be a strategic move, allowing him to maintain control over his narrative without fully engaging in the back and forth. Others believe it could be adding to the confusion, making people question why he hasn't addressed things more directly. On the other side, Ebro's earlier statement continues to echo throughout the conversation, with fans revisiting it again and again, trying to determine whether it was a simple correction or something more revealing. Another theory began gaining traction, suggesting that this entire moment could be exposing something deeper about the culture itself. Some people believe this isn't just about one claim or one disagreement. It's about how quickly information can be accepted as truth when it comes from influential voices. Unconfirmed reports suggest that situations like this highlight the power of media personalities in shaping narratives, even when all the facts aren't available. That idea added a more reflective layer to the discussion, with some fans stepping back and questioning not just what was said, but how they reacted to it. Meanwhile, the silence from Kendrick Lamar remained one of the biggest unanswered elements. His absence continued to create a gap in the story, a missing piece that everyone wanted but nobody had. Some people think his silence is intentional, a way of staying above the noise and avoiding unnecessary involvement. Others believe it could mean something more, suggesting that there may be reasons behind the scenes for why he hasn't spoken. But without any confirmation, those ideas remain speculation, adding to the overall mystery. As the conversation continued to evolve, it became clear that the impact of this situation had already taken hold. Regardless of what the final truth turns out to be, the way people view both Joe Budden and Ebro has been affected. For some, this moment strengthened their support, while for others, it raised doubts that didn't exist before. People are divided, and that division shows no sign of fading anytime soon. The discussion has moved beyond the original claim and into something much bigger, a debate about trust, influence, and credibility in hip-hop media. Right now, everything feels like it's on pause, but not in a calm way, in a tense, waiting kind of way. Fans are still watching closely, still refreshing their feeds, still hoping for something definitive to finally emerge. Because at this stage, even the smallest update could shift the entire narrative again. And with so many unanswered questions still hanging in the air, the story feels far from finished. In the end, what makes this moment so powerful is not just what was said, but how it was received. A single statement led to a chain reaction that pulled in millions of people, sparked endless debate, and created a level of attention that few moments reach. And as everything continues to unfold, one thing remains certain. This situation has left a mark, and whatever happens next will decide whether it becomes a lesson, a misunderstanding, or something much bigger than anyone expected. And just like that, what started as a simple conversation turned into one of the most talked about moments in hip-hop media. A single claim, one response, and suddenly the entire internet is debating who's telling the truth and who's not. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and social media is still going crazy trying to piece everything together. Some people believe Joe Budden stood on what he said and got unfairly challenged, while others think Ebro exposed something that wasn't supposed to come out. But at the end of the day, nothing is confirmed. And that's exactly what keeps this situation alive. What makes this even more interesting is how quickly people chose sides without having all the facts. In today's world, one clip can shape an entire narrative, and once that narrative takes off, it's hard to slow it down. Now, the big question isn't just about what was said, it's about what's real and what's been misunderstood. Is this a case of miscommunication that got blown out of proportion? Or did we just witness a rare moment where something behind the scenes slipped into the public? And now I want to hear from you. What do you think really happened here? Do you believe Joe Budden was speaking facts? Or do you think Ebro completely shut down his claim? Or maybe there's a deeper story that hasn't come out yet. Drop your opinion in the comments, because this is one of those moments where every perspective matters. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more content like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Because trust me, this story might not be over yet, and the next update could change everything.